morning. Welcome in this environment studies class. In this class, we start our new chapter, that is chapter number 13, A Shelter So High. This is a very interesting traveler story. Here we will see that how Gaurav Jani travels from Mumbai to Ladakh on his motorcycle, that is loner, and how he feels there, how people of Ladakh and Jammu and Kashmir are different from the people of Mumbai, how their cultures are different, and many more. Here we will get many information about Ladakh and Jammu and Kashmir. So let's see what's happened, how was the journey of Gaurav Jani. Here we will see how an ordinary man, Gaurav Jani, starts an extraordinary journey with his only partner, that is Lunar, his motorcycle, to experience the real happiness. Gaurav Jani is a filmmaker. He belongs to Mumbai, which is a crowded and noisy city. He is bored from the city life and set on a journey to one of the world's most difficult region, that is Ladakh. His journey took about 2 months. He had to carry everything on his motorcycle. He had to plan and collect all the things he needed. He packed a small tent, sleeping bag, plastic seat, warm clothes, and food that would remain fresh for some days. He also took his camera and extra cans of petrol. Loner and he left Mumbai, passing through small villages and towns of Maharashtra, Gujarat and Rajasthan to reach Delhi. It took him 3 days to cover 1400 kilometers from Mumbai to Delhi. He was hoping to see something new and different in Delhi, but Delhi looked just like Mumbai. He tried to looking at the same kind of he's tired to looking same kind of houses made of cement, brick, glass and steel, and he was looking forward to his journey ahead. He was excited that he would be able to see wooden houses with sloping roofs and those covered with snow. He had seen pictures of such houses in many books. He packed more things in Delhi and continued his journey. In 2 days, Gaurav Jani and Loner both were in Manali. It was so refreshing to be in the mountains and breathe the clear air. Now the real journey was to begin. They had to travel through difficult roads of the state of Jammu and Kashmir to reach Leh in Ladakh. Loner and he, Gaurav Jani, were covering long distances each day. All he needed was food and a tent to protect himself from the cold night air. His nylon tent was so small that he could just about fit in it to sleep, and Loner stood guard outside the tent. At last, they reached Leh. For the first time, he saw such an area with high, dry and flat ground called a cold desert. So, Ladakh is also known as cold desert. Ladakh gets very little rainfall. Here, there are high snow-capped mountains and a cold, flat ground. In Leh, he found himself in a quiet street with beautiful white houses. As he rode slowly, he found that he was being followed by a group of children. They called out Julie Julie, meaning welcome, welcome. They were all amazed to see his loner, his motorcycle, and everyone wanted him to come to their home. Among them, there was one boy named Tasi. Tasi dragged him to his home. It was a building with 2 floors. The house was made of stones which were kept one over the other. The walls were coated with a thick layer of mud and lime. The house looked like a shed from inside with a lot of hay stored there. Then they took the wooden steps and reached the first floor. Tasi told him that this is where they stay. Means they stay at first floor, and the ground floor is for their animals and for storing necessary things. But sometime they also moved there when they were cold. And there Gaurav Jani noticed that the ground floor had no windows and thick tree trunks were used to make the roof strong. Tasi then took him to the roof of his house. From there, he saw a beautiful view and he could see the same flat roof all around. On some, red chilies were laid out to dry, and on some there were orange pumpkins and golden yellow corn. Some had stalks of paddy, and on some cow dung cakes were laid out to dry. So Tasi told him that the roof is the most important part of their house. During summer season, they dry many fruits and vegetables and store them for winters when they do not get fresh fruit and vegetable. As Gaurav Jani stood there with Tasi, he could see how every part of the house was built especially to suit the needs of these people, the people of that area. He could understand how the thick walls, wooden floor, and wooden ceiling protected them from the cold. Now was the time to climb higher. Loner had a tough time zigzagging along narrow, rocky mountain roads. At many places, there were no roads at all. Gaurav Jani was moving toward the rocky plains of Changthang. This is a place at a height of almost 5,000 meters. It is so high that it is difficult to breathe normally. Gaurav Jani had headache and felt weak also. Then he slowly got up to breathe in such air. For many days, he kept wandering in this area with not a single human being in sight. No petrol pumps, no mechanics, only clear blue sky and many beautiful lakes around. Many days and nights passed. Loner and Gaurav Jani kept moving ahead. Suddenly, one morning he saw flat grassy land, and many sheep and goats were grazing there. Far in the distance he saw some tents. He wondered who lived there and what they were doing in this far-out place. There he met Namgyal and came to know about the Changpa, a tribe living on the mountains. The Changpa tribe has only about 5,000 people. The Changpas are always on the move with their goats and sheep. And they get everything from these sheep and goats like milk, meat, skin for tent and wool for coats and sweaters. Their goats are their only treasure. If a family has more animals, it is considered more rich and important. From these special goats, they get wool for making the world famous pashmina wool. The Changpas graze their goat at higher and colder places so that the goats have more and softer fur. They stay high up on these mountains in very difficult conditions because that is where these goats can survive. And this is their life and their livelihood. Gaurav Jani was carrying very little on his little of his belongings on his motorcycle, but when he observed Changpas, he noticed that Changpas used to carry everything that they own on their horses and yaks. It takes them only 2.5 hours mostly to pack everything and move ahead. And within no time they put up their tents at the chosen place. The luggage is unpacked and their houses are ready. So now Namgyal welcome this Gaurav Jani in his tent, which is a big cone shaped tent. He said, "You are most welcome into our home." And they call their tent Rebo. It is made up of yak hair, and these tents are very strong and warm and protect them from the icy strong winds. Gaurav Jani saw that the strips were tightly tied with 9 sticks. The ground is dug about 2 feet deep. The tent is then put up around this on the higher part of ground. As they entered inside, Gaurav Jani realized that Rebo was much big as compared to his tent. And it was big as a room of his flat in Mumbai. It was held up by 2 wooden poles in the middle. There was an opening to let out the smoke from the chula, and then Ramgayal told that the design of this tent is more than 1,000 years old. The tent protected the Changpas from extreme cold. Near the Rebo, there was a place to keep sheep and goats. Changpas called this lekha. The walls of a lekha are made with stones. Each family puts a special mark on their own animals for recognition. The women and young girls count and take the animals out of the lekha. For the Changpas, their animals are a very important part of their life. Each animal part of your life, for example, as a pet or as helpers in farming. Maybe or may not be, maybe you have some cats, dogs at your home, isn't it? This much for today. We will continue our chapter in our next class.